Well, now the recording will be back on. We're talking about, we're talking about. So if you are watching this recording, no Zoom next Wednesday. No Zoom next.
Professor, one more question about the November schedule.
Yes.
I heard about the break, Thanksgiving break or something. And
Yeah.
is it like true? 1 week or 4 or 5 days?
I'll show you. I'll show you. I can put this link in the schedule as well. Oh, I think I bookmarked this page because I go there so often.
I love November.
We deserve it. No, it's really rare. We had, I think, 3 months or almost 3 months with no holiday. That's really rare, honestly.
Yes.
Especially doing everything online. I mean, we're just, what a time, you guys, what a time. So this link that I'm going to send you in the chat is the link to the academic calendar for the fall. It has all the holidays and all the information. But if you look here on the dates, let's see. Here's our holidays. So September 7th, we had off was a Monday. That was Labor Day. That didn't affect us because we don't meet on Mondays. November 11th, that's Veterans Day. And then the Thanksgiving recess, the Thanksgiving break is the 26th to the 29th. And if you look on the calendar, that is Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I am going to plan.
Oh, no, we don't have a class on these days.
We do. Well, we don't. I am going to have, I'll say again, if you're watching the recording now, I am going to have a Zoom on the 25th, but again, I'm going to keep it light. So if you missed that class and you want to start your holiday earlier, that's totally fine. But I will say I am going to have Zoom on this day. Okay. So no Zoom on the 11th. Yes, Zoom on the 18th. Yes, Zoom on the 25th. But if you start your Thanksgiving early and you're not here, I support you, and that's totally fine. Cool?
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Of course. Ooh, I'm glad we needed to talk about some of this stuff. If we had this many questions, that was important, I think, for us to talk about. Okay, so then that's all I wanted to say about the business stuff. And then I wanted to show you, I was, so even though I still am in grading hell, I'm still suffering in grading. I did get to make a lot of new videos and new content for you guys. And I want to show you where that lives in Canvas and talk to you about what we're doing next. So if you go to Canvas and if you go to Professor Jeff's course materials, I was very, very busy. So all of the old videos are there. And then I have videos for Language Power 24, 11, 15, and 19. By next week, I will have 2 more tutorials for us. I don't know if we're going to do all of these tutorials, by the way, but these videos are here for you. You can watch them now. You can come back to them. Of course, all of these videos are on my YouTube. So even when the semester ends, you can access these links, okay? But all of these tutorials are here in Canvas for you to begin to review, you know, whenever you can. Now, I will say I am still trying to decide how many more lessons and stuff to do in Canvas. So I don't have any new lessons for you to practice right now, but these are topics that I'm going to try to cover, especially, by the way, we're going to talk about commas today. That's Language Power Tutorial 15, and the passive voice, because the passive voice is important because it is also connected to verbs. And I was thinking about this week when I was making these videos. I'm very happy with what we've done in this class because I think what we've really talked about the most are parts of speech, phrases and clauses, and verbs. We've talked about verb tenses. We've talked about verb phrases. We've talked about verbs a lot, and really the passive voice is really just another example about verbs and more practice doing and making verbs. So I want to make sure that we do study passive voice, and that's Language Power, tutorial 15. So if you're thinking, okay, I might want to watch one of these videos, or I might want to go over some of the tutorials in Language Power, definitely look at 15 and definitely look at 11. They're very, very important. And of course, like Feduza was saying, I don't want to go fast. I support that. That's great. If you do want to go fast and you're not stressed and behind, you can watch any of these videos, right? And like I said, I'm going to post at least 2 more videos for you here as well. Any questions about the course materials or anything in here right now? Varver, a question, or you're just thinking?
Yeah. After the end of class, can we see this video?
Yeah, can you watch the video?
Yeah.
When class is done at the end of the semester, can you watch them? Yes, all of the videos are in YouTube. They are there. They will be there for you forever. I'm going to use them next semester when I don't have to make new videos and teach and grade at the same time. But yes, so I will be using them, Barbara. They're there for you for as long as YouTube exists. They are yours. They are yours. They are yours. The other thing that I wanted to say, and I'll talk about this more before the end of class, is I want to show you how to download all of the stuff in our Canvas shell, because my dream, my goal is that anything that I posted to Canvas, the PowerPoints, PDFs, files, I want you to have them forever so that you can, if you want to keep studying, again, my intention, my goal is they're yours, is for you to have them and keep them. So I'll show you, before we finish the semester, I will show you how to download basically everything that's in Canvas. I'll show you how to download all that stuff so that you can keep it, you can have it. Cool. Any other questions? Cool. Let's talk about commas. Let's talk about commas. So what I'll say then, I was going to just play the YouTube video for us, but it's 20 minutes long and we've only got 30 minutes left in class. So I'll say this: watch Language Power Tutorial 15, watch LPT 15, watch Language Power Tutorial 15, and be ready to talk about commas. But instead of watching the whole video, I'm going to open this and put it on the screen. So this is page 231 in your book. If you want, you can follow along in your own book. You can follow along on the screen with me. I'm also going to post this file in the chat in case you want to open it up and look at it on your own computer. Give me 1 second here. Again, I know you all have this in your book, but just in case you want an electronic copy of it, it's there in the chat. Good. So you can download it if you want to, but I'm going to look at it on the screen for us here. So again, in the video, I go into much more detail and talk about all this stuff. But first, I want to just do this discovery activity for us here. And then I want to explain and briefly introduce this title. Well, I'll go back to the last page, because Professor Ferris calls this chapter the big 3 comma rules. And I'll just read this for you here, but you'll hear me read it in the video too. I'm going to start here. This tutorial covers the 3 most common errors made in comma usage by college student writers. If you master the rules behind these 3 errors, you will probably eliminate 90% or more of the common errors in your writing. And I want to tell you, I've been teaching these 3 rules for the last 4 or 5 years. And this might sound crazy, but I promise you it is true. Now, there are exceptions. There are weird rules about commas, but if you just learn and feel comfortable with these 3 rules, you will get commas right about 90% of the time. So that's what she means when she talks about the big 3 rules. So I want to introduce what those are to you. And then, of course, you can read and watch my video to get some more detailed and specific information. But first, I want to do the intro activity, and we'll do it together here. So here are the instructions Professor Ferris gives us. So read through the excerpt below and highlight and number every single comma. Then we're going to complete the chart on the next page, right? So on the next page, the instructions she tells us are, for each comma that you highlighted, create an entry in the following chart. Try to suggest a rule or explanation for why the comma is there, right? So again, we're just going to start by looking at this, and I'm going to read it out loud for us. We're not going to do this whole thing together, but I do want to talk about this and maybe think, okay, really, here's the question. I'm going to read this paragraph, and I want you to be able, try to tell me, why is there a comma here? Right? This is, all of these commas are correct. So I want you to try and tell me, why is there a comma there? So I'm going to read through and then let's talk about it. So on November 5th, 2010, Officer Rick Morales arrested Ashley Evans, a 19-year-old college student, at her home in Eugene, Oregon, on charges of possession of illegal drugs and drug paraphernalia, serving alcohol to minors, and various lesser charges, period. Evans argues that officers illegally obtained evidence seized at the time of her arrest, including a beer keg and drug paraphernalia, and that the court should exclude this evidence from admission at her trial. When police officers entered Miss Evans' home without her consent or a warrant, they violated her rights under the Fourth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. So again, let's just talk about it. On November 5th, why do we think there's a comma here?
Because we have two numbers, and if we don't put the comma here, it may be like the big numbers, you know.
Okay, so
we need to separate the two. When it's two different numbers, we need to separate them.
Good. Feruza is saying numbers.
Month and year.
Good. Linda is saying month and year,
Yes.
and even date, right? We get this,
Yes.
Mhm.
we get this specific day. So Feruza is exactly correct. She's talking about numbers. Linda's being even more specific. She's saying not just any numbers, but days and
Dates.
years,
Mhm.
right? Dates and years. Good. And in fact, this is the exact rule. And again, I'll tell you right now, this is not one of the big three comma rules. This is an exception, but this is one that, again, for many students coming to ESL, you already know this because America does the dates so weird and different from other countries. But exactly correct. Anytime you say November 5th, 2010, this could be August 10th, 2020. This could be July 19th, 1986. This could be August 12th, 1890, right? It doesn't matter. The rule that Professor Ferris is showing us is if you see the date and then the year, you put a comma between the date and the year, right? So November 5th, 2010, August 12th, 20.
So Professor,
Yes,
if
please.
we put like the November, like the number, so we need a comma after the November?
No.
Like I put the November, like the number, like it's 11/5/2010.
No, and I don't usually do it this way, but hold on. I'm going to open a Word document.
It is the same date.
Yes, I'm going to open a Word document here instead of, so comma rules, instead of a PowerPoint today. Hold on. Can you guys see that? Is that big enough or should I make it bigger?
Yes, it's big enough. It's
So
wrong.
this is like Luma's question. This one, we don't need it, right? You absolutely do need a comma after the date, though. And this could be for any date. So this is an exception rule, not one of the big three. Put a comma between the month and specific date if it is a number. Now, the other thing you don't need is this. If you write out the word, then you don't need a comma there either. I'm going to make these red, right? So November, 5th, 2020, no. November, 5th, 2020, no. But the rule is a comma between the month and the
year.
I'm sorry, a number between the month. I'm sorry. Between the specific date and the year.
Yeah.
If you write the date as a number. And again, see how this is a very, very specific rule. So it doesn't matter. This could be August 22nd, 1620. The year, the date, it really doesn't matter. January 1st, it could be whatever, the year 980. It doesn't matter, right? But if you've got the date as a number and then the year after it, comma. Make sense?
Yes.
Questions?
No.
Love it. Now, what about this one? On November 5th, 2010, comma, Officer Rick Morales arrested Ashley Evans. What's up with this one?
I think it's two separate ideas or two
No.
like
Subject,
Because
subject clause.
Preposition phrase.
name, because
Subject phrase.
Who said phrase? Who said phrase?
I said.
I heard Barbara was saying object phrase. Who else? Somebody else said phrase?
Subject, not object. Subject.
Mm.
Subject phrase.
Okay, this is one of the big three, and I'll show you. We're going to come back to it. Officer Rick Morales arrested Ashley Evans, comma, a 19-year-old college student, comma, at her home in Eugene, comma, Oregon. So what's up with this one? Comma, a 19-year-old college student, comma. What's that?
It is adjective clause.
description.
Adjective clause.
Excuse me, when we talk about something if we don't like, we have to continue to speak and no need to put we have to put comma, because like continue to talk about same topic.
Good. Now, again, today I'm going
Maybe or must be.
maybe, not must be, Marina. And before we finish, again, we are going to do the other thing that we're going to do is I have one more like big collection of PDF pages to practice some of these adjective and relative clauses. So again, I don't want to spend too much time on this because I want to introduce the big three, but this is the difference between okay. Here's my question. Do
The
these
second one is correct.
Well, I was going to say, let's start with, is the grammar correct? And do they have the same meaning if the grammar is correct?
I can't say about the grammar is correct or not in meaning, but second one is with grammar is correct. The second one.
First is correct.
Here's the good news. Well, good news and bad news. They're both correct.
Both, yeah.
The grammar.
The meaning are different.
Yes, that's exactly why these relative clauses, adjective clauses, like Barbara was saying, I'm going to show them to you. They are really, they are a difficult part of English grammar. But adjective clauses, they sometimes are called restrictive or non-restrictive. And depending on if they're restrictive or non-restrictive, that means they might have commas or they might not have commas, right? But again, I don't want you to worry about this too much today, because I'm going to at least show this to you at the end of the semester. And even more importantly is, this is not one of the big three comma rules either. This is an exception, because these type of restrictive clauses are not very, very common. Now they're important because you see them, but they're not as common.
It shows that exactly this sister lives in Los Angeles, not other sister, exactly this sister.
Yeah, please, can you explain the first one? Because how can be the correct, the first one? More information about her sister, but it's not necessary.
Hold on. Right. So here, the adjective clause gives us information about the sister, but it is not necessary to the meaning of the sentence. Because I could say this. The grammar in this sentence is still absolutely correct. That's why we can keep, we can, when we have these clauses, I'm sorry, these phrases, who lives, no, it is a clause. When we have these clauses, they can be put between commas by themselves, and they're called non-restrictive clauses. Again, don't stress this too much, because we're going to talk more about this in detail. Instead, I want to show you the big three comma rules first. But the meaning here is, the meaning, you don't have to have this clause to have the meaning of the sentence. But here you do, because the meaning is, here, my sister who lives in Los Angeles, this is almost all this is the whole noun phrase, right?
Yes.
This
Yes.
really is the subject.
Subject.
Now, again,
Mhm.
is this a noun phrase or is it a clause? I just told you that who lives here, this looks like a subject and this looks like a verb, but now you're saying, Jeff, that's included in the subject. Again, don't worry about
Like
this.
she nice.
Don't
Yeah.
worry about, exactly. Thank you. You are, Feruza, thank you. Exactly. We could replace this whole phrase or clause, whatever we want to call it. We could replace the whole thing with the pronoun. So this whole thing acts as one phrase together. It in fact acts as the subject of the sentence. Here's our verb, and here's the adjective that modifies and goes back to describe the whole noun phrase. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now, how to do this and when we need to do this, we'll get to practice that more with some of the pages that and videos that I made this weekend, that I made on Monday. But for today, I just want you to notice here, the commas are giving us important information about the meaning of the sentence. But even this is hard. It is not one of our big 3 comma rules. So does this, even if you don't know how to do it, does the difference here make a little bit of sense at least? Oh, I'm going to put this all on one page. I'll upload this to Canvas too, but does this kind of make sense even though it's weird?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's weird.
It is weird. And how about this comma? Eugene, comma, Oregon. What's going on?
The 2 places are coming the one time, and we need to put separate.
Good. And what's this? These 2 places, are they?
Comma between city and state.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All of these are still exceptions, right? These are all exceptions rules. So put a comma between the specific date and the year if you write it as a number. Exception. Put a comma in non-restrictive adjective clauses. And again, don't, I know that I'm going very fast, but we'll talk more about that later. Put a comma, I can hear the birds, it sounds so nice. Put a comma between a city and a state. This isn't always rule, but you just don't use it as often, right? So this could be Sacramento, California, New York, whatever, Los Angeles, California.
Professor, why Sacramento, California, we need to put comma, but Los Angeles, California, we don't have to. Oh.
You see what I'm saying?
Okay, got it.
Yeah, for the people who aren't here, I just wanted to show an example of incorrect, right? Hopefully this looks weird. If it doesn't, then it will start to look weird, right? Because it, at least in the US, right? And actually, it's not just the US. You could also say this.
Yeah. England.
So if it's another country, it might be city and country and not just state. So again, for my or for other students, right? This could be Moscow, Russia. If you're writing all this stuff in English, you would say Moscow, Russia. You would say Kabul, Afghanistan. All of those. So these are more examples. I know I spelled this incorrectly. Typo. Oh, it wants to change it to Spanish. So that's one of the exception rules. Put a comma between a city and a state or country. Cool? Just 2 more to look at here. How about in this example? Blah, blah, blah. Illegally obtained, I'm here, evidence seized at the time of her arrest, comma, including a beer keg and drug paraphernalia, comma, and that the court should exclude this. No, I don't even want to talk about that one. Hold on. I want to do this last one. When police officers entered Miss Evans' home without her consent or a warrant, comma, they violated her rights under the 4th Amendment to the Constitution. What's that one?
2 more different actions. We need to separate them also.
Okay.
2 sentences.
Varvara said sentences. Feruza said actions. You're so close, both of you, but not quite. There's one magic word I want here. It starts.
Clauses?
Thank you.
When? Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to
2
say
clauses.
it starts with a C. Now, good. Look at these 2 sentences. What type of sentence is this last sentence?
When police officers.
Passive voice.
Compound?
Compound
Anna says compound.
No,
or complex?
Complex.
complex.
Yeah, complex.
And which
Complex.
and which I agree completely. And which clause is the independent clause?
Second one.
Yes.
Miss Evans home without her consent or a warrant.
Barbara says the second clause. I should.
They violated her rights under
They
the
violated
first
her
law.
rights.
Good. I'm going to look at this. So now this is one of the big three. We look at this example.
We put a comma when dependent clause comes first
Yeah, I knew. I was like, I know I talked about this. Someone's going to remember this.
before independent. Yeah.
You see my Word document,
Mhm.
everything to be in Spanish. I'm sorry about this. They violated.
We use comma when the dependent sentence is first.
Yes, exactly. And I know we talked about this, but that's why it's good news, right? Like 2 of the big 3 comma rules you've already learned, and the other one I started to talk about. So they is the subject, right? So police officers is our subject. Entered is the verb in this clause, right?
Mhm.
Violated is the verb in this clause. So, and where's our subordinator?
When?
When?
Thank you. This class, you guys, again, think about how much progress, how far we have come in 11 weeks. Here's the subordinator. So when police officers entered Miss Evans' home without her consent or a warrant, comma, they violated her rights under the 4th Amendment to the US Constitution. So we have a dependent clause at the beginning. We have an independent clause. If the dependent clause comes before the independent clause in a complex sentence, you must have a comma at the end of the dependent clause. That is one of the big 3 comma rules, right? And the other example that I wanted to show from this is here. This one. Okay, what's going on here? Even just we don't even need to look at the whole sentence. What's going on with this comma in this blue line?
Conjunctions.
Thank you. And what's the rule there?
When we have a two the clauses or I don't know ideas sentence, we separate them with conjunctions. And we put before the conjunction, we
them.
put comma.
Love it. Yeah, who perfect. Feduza, you're on it. Who wants to help Feduza? I heard somebody joining in.
I said like I connected the 2 sentences.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Two clauses are
Thank you. I was going to say, and what type of clauses?
Independent.
That's it. So here are comma rule number 2 and comma rule number 3 are what we just looked at. If you look here, comma rule says, insert a comma before a coordinating conjunction followed by an independent clause. What does that mean? We already talked about this. That's why we start with sentences at the beginning of this class. If you've got a compound sentence or even a compound complex sentence, if you are connecting 2 independent clauses with a coordinating conjunction, again, and watch the video, you'll see me talk about this and give more examples. But if you're combining 2 independent clauses with a coordinating conjunction, then you have to have a comma before the coordinating conjunction. And you see, and you guys are doing this. I'm reading, like I said, I haven't graded, but I'm reading your writing, and I see that, right? I see that. And we have that example here. So including a beer keg and drug paraphernalia, and that the court would exclude evidence, this one, and that the court should exclude evidence from admission at her trial. Hey, and you could also just say, amazing. Right? I mean, like, hopefully, I think that you've been watching me, you've been listening to me and watching me enough that hopefully this looks a little weird. Hopefully, maybe you're at the point where this sentence, I enjoy talking about grammar and I hope you enjoy listening, looks weird because we have to have a comma there. And also,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
But is also a fanboy. So if you're going to use but, right?
Mm-hmm. Also, so too.
Professor, it is necessary that always we put comma before and but.
Well, okay. Laluma is saying, do we always put a comma before and but?
If it's clause, we always put. If it's words, not always.
That's right, because that, I think, Laluma, you asked this excellent question another time, because this would be the difference between, yeah, if it's acting like a coordinated conjunction between two independent clauses, yes, always, yes, always, yes, always, yes, always. But
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, but here, no, here you don't need a comma because
Phrase.
exactly right.
Yeah, I want to ask this one too.
So like this, I like pizza, comma, and ice cream. No.
If there is a two more, I like pizza, ice cream, and soda.
Now we're getting to the, okay, so now we're getting to, this is not a big 3 comma rule, but when you watch the video, this is good. So this is not a big 3 comma rule, but this is another place you often see commas is lists, right? So lists is another example of where you need a comma, but this is again an exception. So remember, it's got to be at least 3.
Mm-hmm.
Now again, some teachers like this comma, some teachers don't. It doesn't really bother me. Honestly, when I write, I put this comma in here. It really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter for this class. Just listen and see how Microsoft Word says that it's blue. It wants a comma there. I would put a comma there. Some teachers, depending on the discipline, depending on what you're studying, they might not want a comma there. But you have to do it if you've got 3 or more items. So I enjoy cooking beans and rice. No comma. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But this is incorrect.
Beans, rice, and meat. Yeah.
Right. So this is 3 items. You do need a comma here. This is incorrect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's a great question, Perusa and Laluma. That was like a tag team question. So Laluma, to your question, if and is a coordinating conjunction between 2 independent clauses, yes, you 100% always need the comma. If and is just a conjunction joining phrases, like Barbara was saying, then you might need a comma, you might not need a comma, right? Because in the list here, you do need a comma because you have at least 3 things. In a simple sentence like this, where you're just listing 2 nouns and linking them with a conjunction, you don't need a comma because it's only 2 items. Does that make sense?
Yes, Professor, thank you.
Excellent, good. So I'm going fast now, but again, so I just want to make sure we did, this is why here's an idiom. There's a method to my madness. It means there's a reason for the way I do things. Because we've already looked at sentence types and clauses, you guys are really set up to understand the big 3 comma rules. Because again, rule number 2, insert a comma before a coordinating conjunction followed by an independent clause. Rule 3 is do not insert a comma before a coordinated conjunction when what follows is not an independent clause. That's the rule that we just talked about. That was Leiluma's great question, right? So if it's just a regular conjunction, then you don't need a comma. And in fact, Dana, Professor Ferris, she gives us some examples here, right? So I slept in too late and missed my 8 o'clock class again. I should go to class regularly, but just can't get up that early. You don't need a comma here because there's no subject after the conjunction, right? It's just slept in too late and missed. So the subject is the same. So we have a verb, but we don't have a new subject. That means it can't be a clause. So we don't need a comma here, right? Now that's contrasted. That's different than I should go to class regularly, comma, but I just can't get up that early. Okay, now I have a conjunction. Now I have a subject, so I do need the comma in this sentence. Make sense?
Yes.
And the last one with the last 3 minutes, again, you guys heard me. So this is kind of like, this is going to be good. This video is like a warm up for you to watch the video that I made about tutorial 15. You'll be even more ready. This is this idea of this introductory element, right? So, and in fact, if you look at this, so we need a comma in English if we have this introductory element. It might be a word, it might be a phrase, it might be a long example. So therefore, comma, one should come to class every day. Last quarter, comma, I slept in too often and missed my 8 o'clock class. So these aren't clauses, right? These are maybe just 1 word or 2 word phrases, but we even get some examples of, although there was no specific attendance requirement. Now here, what do we have going on here? Is this just an introductory element or is this a clause?
A clause.
Exactly correct. Barbara is saying this is a clause. So this kind of looks like that dependent clause at the beginning of the sentence rule, but whatever is going on, right? Whether it's a full-on clause or whether it's a phrase that modifies the entire sentence, you do need a comma at the beginning of the sentence. And we'll keep working on this because it's so important. But if you look at the paragraph that we looked at together here, so on November 5th, comma, 2010, comma, this is actually an example of this introductory element, right? On November 5th, 2010, comma. So we could do this for dates all the time. In 2019 or in 2018, comma, I moved.
Like the same when we say the in the morning, at the night.
Yes, exactly. So
Any introduction, yeah.
exactly. The way that I usually teach this at the 310 level, Linda, is prepositional phrases are really the most common for students like you guys. I think prepositional phrases as introductory elements is the most common way that we're used to seeing these phrases that need a comma at the beginning of a sentence. Last year, yesterday, 2 years ago, in December 2018. These are really common things that we do. Last week, 2 days ago, whatever. All of these are examples of introductory elements that you would need a comma if you put them at the beginning of the sentence.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes.
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 It's 5 o'clock. I know I went really fast, but again, everything that I just talked about, you get to hear me go much slower here in Language Power Tutorial 15. Okay, so what I want you to do, I'm going to look in Canvas and think about assignments. I might post one more lesson for you to practice some of this stuff between now and our next Zoom, because that is 2 weeks. So I'm going to keep going slow. I'm thinking of our conversation at the beginning of class. I don't want to add too much new stuff, but I do want to give you the chance to practice some of these rules. Okay.
Okay.
Fedus is saying, I know it's 5 o'clock and it's already dark outside. It's true. It's true. It's true. So that's it. Thank you guys. I know we had kind of a different type of class today, but I hope it was still helpful for you guys. And I'll edit this video to make sure that we only keep in the stuff that we want to talk about. But for now, what I'd really say, if you're thinking, oh my God, Jeff, what am I supposed to do? Really watch the videos. You know, it takes me a long time to make them and to give you these examples. So watch the videos. If I post more assignments in Canvas for you, I'll send out an announcement just that there's a chance for you to practice more stuff. That's it, I think. Questions, ideas, concerns, thoughts?
Nothing.
Nothing. Can I ask real quick, either thumbs up, thumbs down? Do you want some lessons in Canvas to practice this stuff?
I can't see the thumbs down.
No, I can't see anybody. Liluma says yes. Anybody else?
Okay.
I'll think about it. I'll think about it then. Laluma, I know Laluma's like, give it to me. I want more. But like I said, watch the videos then. Watch the videos and be ready with questions in 2 weeks. Because again, 2 weeks is a long time. So try not to forget all the grammar that we've learned. And I've got some grading to do. So I'll do that and I'll fix some of the problems that are in Canvas, you guys. That's it. It's 5:02. If you got to go, get out of here. If you want to stay and ask questions, I'll be here. So lovely as always to see you guys, and enjoy your week off. Rest. Take that.
Thank you, Professor.
off. Yeah.
Thank you, Professor. Have
Have a great one too.
Thank you, Alina. You too. Bye,
Professor.
Firuza. Bye, Linda. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Who's talking? Bye, Barbara.
Amina.
What's up?
I need 5 minutes your time if you can.
Yeah, of course. If people want to stay, I'm here. Yeah. Let me stop.
I'm waiting to everybody leave.
Good. And I was going to stop recording too.